Okay guys, here is the premise. What if you found a car that the body is in pretty darn good shape and the interior is mostly in darn good shape. Not perfect, of course. The car's 21 years old. And it's a General Motors 3800 Series 2, but it's from 1998 and the motor is bad because somebody didn't take care of it. Some people say, well, you have the General Motors 3800 Series 2, they're all interchangeable and compatible. Is that true or not? Well, I'm here to tell you yes with qualifications. So let's go ahead and get into the video. The purpose of this video is to talk about the differences between early and late Series 2 3800 V6s from General Motors. So we're starting out under the car. The car is a 1998 Oldsmobile Regency. One of the first differences you get with this later 3800, which is from a 2004 Bonneville, is you get this extended oil filter housing. And one of the things I was worried about in installing this motor was the frame rail. As we can see, there's plenty of room to clear. Now, I was not so sure when the engine was on a hoist being dropped into the car. The next thing is you get this lovely structural steel oil pan as opposed to a stamped piece on the earlier Series 2. So bonus for that. So let's go up topside, take a look at some other things. Okay, glamour shot of the car. This is a 1998 Oldsmobile Regency, as I said, in the snow belt. This car is remarkably well preserved. Sat out under somebody's trees for a while, as you can see from all of the leaves. Haven't cleaned those out yet. But another difference, and this is something you say, what do I need to save from my earlier Series 2? Well, the alternator is definitely bigger than the newer ones. And all of your bracketry and things like that, all of the holes and threaded holes in the engine block and heads that mount this stuff are all still there, so you don't need to worry about that too much. But definitely you have to use the old alternator. The other thing is the coolant housing is different, and that bolts right on too, removing the newer piece. Another thing is the power steering pump in the newer Series 2s comes on some standoff type blocks. You simply discard those and put the power steering pump, bolt it right to the motor. One little thing, there is a casting piece as part of the power steering pump, and you need to take and grind that a little bit because there's a little interference between it and something on the motor. I just remember I had to grind it a little bit, but do not let that dissuade you, because after you grind it off just a little bit, it goes right in the two mounting holes. As you can see, this engine mount here is much different than the later Series cars that they use the Series 2 in. It's side mounted on a frame rail here, much different. It makes the accessory belt much more difficult to change unless you know the secret. The secret is to remove a lower bolt. Found that out on YouTube after I'd tried it a couple of other ways unsuccessfully. So really, other than that, there's one other key difference that you'll want to pay attention to. On the newer Series 2 wiring harnesses, the EGR valve, you can see here, the wiring shoots kind of back towards the wiring harness shoots back kind of towards, the fuel rail, the firewall. On the newer ones, the wiring harness has it wired going this way, and you'd have to split some or break some wires, run some new wires to get a newer EGR valve to work. So you got to save back that old EGR valve. Another thing, I think the throttle body, you definitely want to save your sensors off the throttle body, I think. It's getting a little hazy now, which is why I'm doing this video. Oh, and the other thing is the fuel rail. The wiring harness connectors definitely do not work with the newer fuel rail, so you have to save back your old fuel rail too. But other than that, as you can see, I have a little vanity project here. I painted my valve covers white to match the rest of this car, which is very white. Gonna call it the white whale or something like that. But that is the end of the story. I hope everyone who's watching found this video helpful, but it's always nice to be able to go to the salvage yard and find literally an engine that's 6 years newer, possibly, than the one you're going to put in, something that was likely driven this century, to put in your project. One last thing, I do need to mention this, that the oil pressure transducer, you definitely need to save the old one on that one. The wiring harness, again, in this older car won't take the newer sensor body. It's the same number of pins, so it does the same job, but you need to reinstall or install the old sensor into your new oil filter pickup here. So that's everything. Thanks.